Hey, what's up guys, it's Bakes and thanks for joining me for another one of my random horror reviews. Today's episode is going to be a review of Eli Roth's Cabin Fever from 2002. I recently picked up this double feature put out by Via Vision. I've been really enjoying what Via Vision have been releasing lately. It confuses me why they didn't put the third Cabin Fever on this as well. I believe it's called Patient Zero. It's actually the only Cabin Fever movie I haven't seen. But either way, as I said, everything that Via Vision have been releasing lately with these franchise sets have been incredible. I actually already own the first two Cabin Fever movies in singular copies. I have them somewhere here on my shelf. But as I said, I've been really enjoying what Via Vision have been putting out, so I had to pick this one up also. But today's review, as I said, is going to be on the first Cabin Fever movie from 2002. Getting into the plot for that movie, a group of 5 friends, they go away for the weekend. I believe they're having a break from uni or studies or whatever, and they rent out this cabin, isolated cabin off in the woods, and they're going to spend the weekend there just drinking, partying, just having fun. And an infection gets in the group and they start getting sick and their bodies are falling apart. This infection is really brutal, really disgusting. As I said, their skin is falling apart. It's really sickening. And the group have to figure out how to defeat this infection or somehow get out of this cabin and get to safety and find help. And it's a really good movie. I'm sure a lot of people have seen it, but let's get into my thoughts of Cabin Fever now. Now, with Cabin Fever, I think a lot of people kind of undermined how genuinely good of a movie this is. You know, maybe people that haven't checked it out in a while just remember it as being this gross out infection film, and those who haven't seen this movie and have heard of it might just be like, yeah, it's gore and splatter just for the sake of it. But really, as I said, this movie is genuinely pretty solid and quite entertaining. To me, Cabin Fever has always been a reliable movie, as in whenever I put it on, I know that I'm going to be entertained, I know that I'm going to have a good time, it's not going to be a chore to sit through, and again, upon rewatch, all those things still went down. I thought it was great. It's only an hour and a half runtime, so it's not the longest movie anyway, but even then, it flies by super quick. To me, it's just because all of its elements work so well, you know, it's body horror, the suspense of the infection, you know, who's got it, who's going to be killed next, you know, that whole, it puts you on the edge of your seat sort of thing, but also the comedy in this movie. I think a lot of people sort of forget how funny this movie actually is. Bert, he's just a super funny character. I love him. He says some lines that are really out there at the end of the day, but I still laugh a lot of the time. Even Eli Roth's cameo, I forget the name of his character, but he's the one with the dog, Dr. Mumbo. I really enjoyed that too. All of our characters in this one I really enjoyed. You know, there's nothing that makes them the best characters of all time. They're actually quite stereotypical, but I just like seeing their interactions and how they all deal with the scenario of this infection. You know, some are trying to hide that they're infected, others just try to stay away from people entirely. This movie actually reminded me a lot of what it was like when COVID was at its peak. You know, a lot of people were just paranoid, and this is it sort of in a nutshell in a way. Yeah, obviously a lot more gross side effects with this film, but either way, you know, I really liked our characters in this one and how they all interacted. But going back to the horror elements in this movie, I mean, all of it works really well. Most of it is body horror, you know, of course, going along with the infection and it spreading around this group. I think one of the scenes that comes to mind for most people who have seen this movie is the scene where one of the characters is shaving her legs, and as the razor goes up, just peels off all this skin and flesh along with it. Yeah, as I said, that's one of the more notable scenes in this movie, and it makes you squirm, and there's lots of scenes like that. But one of my favourite elements in this movie as well is the fact that this group is from out of town and everyone in this little small town know each other. They're all locals, and these are the only outsiders really. So when they're infected and they're going out for help, the whole town sort of turns on them as well, and you've got these people chasing them down with guns, and all that for me works really well also. It just adds another element to this movie. I love in infection movies also those scenes where the group scan each other for you know, signs of being infected, or I think one of the most notable of all time is in The Thing, where they test the blood and whatever elements you use to, you know, show that that's what they're doing. It's always super cool, but I love it in this movie. It's very quick and brief, but they all strip down and scan each other for marks and whatever. Yeah, the whole horror elements that go into this movie work really well for me. So as you've probably gathered, I really do enjoy this movie. It is pretty straightforward, but just lots of elements do work for me in this one. It had me wondering again, why did they choose to remake this movie? Like, first of all, this one's like genuinely good, but also it doesn't feel too old or dated. I don't think too much time is actually between this one and the remake. The remake to me has always just felt unnecessary. Sorry, I got the dog at my feet, it keeps wanting pats. But yeah, the remake to me has always just felt unnecessary. And yeah, just rewatching it again, it just dumbfounds me why they chose to remake this movie. Yeah, as I said, just lots of elements for this one in this movie work for me. Even like the small suspense stuff, like who's got it. There's people that lead on that they don't have it when they actually do, and you're wondering who gave it to who and how it's going around. I even remember my first time watching this movie. Like, obviously, I've seen this movie plenty of times before, so I know how it originated now. But my first time watching it, I'm like, okay, how is this spreading? Because it shows like a group of stray dogs at the start, and you're like, okay, is it spreading through the dogs? Because there's also a dead dog at the start of the movie. That weird kid that does karate and screams pancakes, he bites a character, and you're like, okay, is it through that? Is it through the water? Because a lot of people are washing their hands and drinking this water. Like, you're really not sure, and it puts you on the edge of your seat. It genuinely has you asking. So lots of the elements for this movie really work for me. So I'm just going to get around to the rating. I'm going to give Cabin Fever from 2002. I was going to give it an 8, but you know what, 8.5. I really do enjoy this movie, and if you haven't checked it out, which I'm sure a lot of you have, but yeah, maybe you go and rewatch it, because this movie is really good. So thank you for joining me again, guys, for one of my random horror reviews. If you're new to my channel, there's probably no difference to use, but if you have been subscribed for a while, I have changed layouts and there's a new sort of setup behind me. With just owning a lot of horror movies, you run out of room, and that's what happened with me. I used to have my collection in my bedroom. If you remember, I used to sit on the edge of my bed, and that's where I filmed my videos. But now I've just got too many, and I'm gonna need more shelves and whatever, so we've had to move it into a bigger room. And yeah, this is where I think I'm going to be filming from now on. I just wanted to clear that up. But as I said, thank you for joining me again, guys, for my random horror reviews. I hope you liked all my content throughout January. I worked really hard on that. But I think I'm going to be doing a bit more random horror reviews now that we're in February. Just having a break from, the more special videos like top 10s and everything. I'm just going to get back into doing some more random horror reviews, and hopefully you guys enjoy that also. But thank you for joining me in today's video, and I'll see you for some more content soon. Peace, guys.